The conference.
Okay, Malcolm, over to you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this brief overview of the Considerate Constructor scheme. Since the inception of the scheme, we've had as our strapline improving the image of construction. And the whole point of our scheme is to try and encourage construction sites to improve from the photograph you see there to the photograph you can now see. Just literally making a better statement of the construction industry to the big wide world. Important, it does our image as an industry a great deal of good, and it lets the public see what sort of industry we can really be. So what is the Considerate Constructor scheme? It's a national initiative. It was set up in 1997, and that was following the Latham Report of 1994. One of the recommendations that Latham made was that there should be an independent body monitoring the construction industry. Hence, the Considerate Constructor scheme came into being. We use the word constructors because we deal with all forms of construction, be it building sites, be it roads, be it maritime, be it airports. It doesn't matter what it is. If you can define it as construction, then you can register with the Considerate Constructor scheme. We have three basic forms of registration: site registration, company registration, and a relatively new supplier registration that was introduced this year. All registrations are monitored against the Considerate Constructor scheme Code of Considerate Practice. All sites,
joining the conference,
all suppliers,
Simon Jones,
are visited by experienced scheme monitors who will provide an assessment of the performance against the code, and where we will obviously highlight what is happening that is good, and we will also give advice in terms of trying to improve, but we also kind of comment on what is perhaps not achieving the level of compliance that we would like to see. So it should be an overall experience that helps in a number of ways to improve. Best practice and best initiatives are also shared with the industry on our website and on our best practice hub, which I will show you a little bit more about later. So what is the scheme and why? The first sentence there really says it all. It doesn't matter whether it's a major development in the centre of town, whether it's in an agricultural area, whether it's on a motorway, or even whether it's just a single house being built amongst existing houses. Our industry does have a huge impact on everybody's lives. And therefore, as I said earlier when I showed you the two photographs, it is important that we do present a positive advertisement of us, the site, the company, the supplier, which relates back, of course, to the whole of our industry. Now, the Code of Considerate Practice commits, as it says here, everyone who registers. Now, obviously, the scheme is voluntary, but once you have signed on the dotted line and made your commitment to the scheme, then, yes, we will be looking at you to gain as high a level of compliance as you possibly can. And the 5 sections of our Code of Considerate Practice are named here: appearance, community, environment, safety, and the workforce. If you've ever seen one of our checklists, you will see that that is the 5 sections, and the relevant questions that the monitor will ask are shown within the checklist. Where? Anywhere. Anywhere within the United Kingdom. We cover the whole of the United Kingdom, including the offshore islands. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can register with us, and we will come to you easily to carry out our monitoring requirements. Again, who? It's open to anybody. The company registration deals with smaller companies. Site registration deals with construction sites, and suppliers, that's a supplier to the construction industry. So it doesn't matter who, what, or where. If you are involved in construction activity, then fine. We're very, very happy to talk to you, and we're very, very happy to have you register with us. When? This is something that I just would like to emphasize. In terms of site activity, constructional activity, please register as early as you can. If you register for the first time, we are able to offer a new contractor visit. In other words, it's an advisory visit prior to a monitor visiting your site for the first time. And we can therefore help with what we expect, how we can best help you to gain the level of compliance that you want. It also should include demolition work. This is an area where very often it can engender complaints. We all understand what demolition work does, and this is an area where people are likely to complain more than any other time. So yes, again, if you're registered with us, we can help with complaints, we can help satisfy those who may not be very happy with what you've done. Companies and suppliers, well, that registration is slightly different because of the type of operation that you have, and you can register at any time, and we pick it up and run with it from there. So please, just a little note here, just to emphasise, please register your sites as early as possible. It helps us to help you. Monitoring, promotion of registration, we have stickers, we have banners, we have posters, we have all sorts of things that we can help you with to display the fact that you are a considerate constructor. We make sure the scheme runs through our monitors. We've got about 140, 150 monitors covering the UK currently, and one of those will visit every single site, company and supplier in turn to make sure that through all the monitors that we have, the standard of our code of considerate practice is maintained to the standard that we want it to be. The code, very simply, it's a 5-point code designed, as I've said previously, to help the industry raise its standards. And we can find, through our history, we came into being in 1997, and we can point to many successes in this area where companies have raised standards and the industry is now looking a lot better for the raise in those standards. I said this earlier, we're all monitored against the code of practice, so it doesn't matter whether you are a company, a supplier or a site, you are monitored against the same code of considerate practice. Just to re-emphasise, there's the 5 sections: caring about appearance, respecting the community, protecting the environment, and securing everyone's safety, of course important, and valuing the workforce. Last but by no means least, because these are the guys that are doing the work and these are the guys that deserve respect, encouragement, etc., etc. What are the benefits? What would you get out of registering with the Considerate Constructor scheme? Image. Let's go back to that first photograph that I showed you. How well can your site actually enhance the appearance to promote the industry? We're all part of the same industry, so if we all work along the same lines, the whole of the industry is going to benefit from what we are about and from what we try and achieve. So enhancing the appearance of your site and promoting your company in a positive fashion. Brand. Protect and enhance your brand and of course that of your client. Our banners will proclaim that you are a considerate constructor. And here I would like to include clients because in terms of constructors, it's not just the guys on the ground digging the holes, as it were, it's everybody concerned with the project, whether it's the client, the professional team, whoever. It can protect and enhance everybody's brand to be associated with a considerate constructor's scheme, site, supplier, or whatever. You can benchmark your sites against your competitors. You can see what you're up to. You can also benchmark internally so that one of your sites might be doing exceptionally well and the other site managers will therefore want to know how they're managing to do that. By benchmarking, by discussion, again, we can hopefully improve the image of the construction industry. Helpline. We will deal with complaints. We have a young man here in the office who will deal with all your complaints and hopefully help you resolve them. Sometimes it is difficult because obviously people very often get a jaundiced opinion of the construction industry and what it's trying to do. But nonetheless, we are committed to try and make sure that what we do on your behalf helps the situation. Sometimes site managers will be able to respond directly with the complainant, but at other times maybe we just need to step in and help out a little bit, which we're only too happy to do. Proactive and positive engagement within the community. we want to show people that we're not standoffish, that we're not standalone, that we do want to be involved. A site manager once said to me when he was sitting in the middle of a housing estate, he said, "You know what?" He said, "I'm a guest here." And that was a very interesting thought, that here he was on his building site, but amongst all these residents, he was a guest. And he wanted to act in such a way that a guest might behave if he were in your house for a dinner party. A good way of thinking about it. Let's not make a mess. Let's not do something that the people would not like. So yeah, let's be proactive and let's have a positive engagement with our community. Our checklist will require contractors to positively engage with schools. Maybe a little discussion, maybe a site visit, maybe a painting competition with the results displayed on a hoarding. And maybe we can get involved with the local community, maybe the local tennis club. The tiles are falling off the roof. So the guys there could just spend a little time putting the tiles back on the roof. A very easy job for a contractor, but maybe a very difficult job for the tennis club. So what can we do to make people out with our industry think, hey, you know what, this construction industry is kind of good. Our image, yet again. The Considerate Constructor scheme has annual awards. It has annual awards for sites, for companies and for suppliers. Top 7.5% of sites will receive an annual award, based obviously on their monitoring results initially, and then through our dedicated committee which actually defines the award. So awards are available, which is further encouragement for you to improve the image of what you are about. Planning, a necessary evil in some people's eyes, but planners within local authorities do look very positively upon sites that are registered with the Considerate Constructor scheme. As it says here, because they then believe that there will be minimal inconvenience to the people who are affected by the work. One of our main points in terms of dealing with people is we always refer to those who are affected. It may not just be the people next door, maybe people on a wider basis. So what do we look for? We care about our appearance. We care about the appearance of sites. And here's just a couple of examples that monitors have seen on previous times, which present, we feel, a good image of the industry. On the right-hand side, obviously that's a Crossrail project, but you can see some information there, some pictures, some bits and pieces. And on the left-hand side, you'll note all our banners are displayed. The company here purchased all the different banners that we have. And yeah, just make a little bit of display about being considerate. The information, yeah, give people as much information as you can. Why not? They might pass the site on a daily basis and be very interested to what's happening. So tell them about progress. Tell them what environmental things you're up to, how you recycle your waste. Tell them all sorts of things that give your site a good appearance, because you're giving people an awful lot of information that they may otherwise not know. Respecting the community, I mentioned just now about a little painting competition. Very popular with schools and contractors, especially when the results are shown on the hoarding. Maybe mum and dad like to see little Jimmy's painting on the hoarding. It's a great idea, and it improves the image. It improves the relationship between the construction industry and parents and schools. The left-hand photograph, what does that say? That just says that we are keen to talk to people, that we do consider what we are doing within a neighbourhood, how we can help people, how we can advise them, and what we can do with and for them. Environmentally, well, we make sure, as much as we can, that contractors are aware of their environmental responsibility. Energy use should be monitored. Carbon emissions should be monitored. Waste should be monitored. What can we do to recycle? We want the environmental aspects of all the construction activities to be carefully monitored. In some cases, you will be able to do something about it because it will be your responsibility. Maybe in other cases, it's your client or whatever, and you may not be able to take direct action. But what you most certainly can do is to understand exactly what your site, company or supplier registration is actually achieving. On the left-hand side, yeah, just a picture of what's happening in the big wide environmental world. We care about trees, we care about wildlife, we care about what's going on. If there's a waterway, if there's a water course, if there's a stream, if there's a canal, if you're up against the Thames, we need to make sure that we protect our environment. There's an awful lot of stuff talked about environmental matters. I'm certainly not an environmental expert and I'm not a scientist, but clearly what we are doing in this world needs to be considered very carefully, because what we do with this planet is obviously of great importance, and we can play our little part through the construction industry. Safety. I'm sure you guys that are listening don't need any lectures from me on safety. The principle that we work by is we cannot come onto your site and declare that it's safe. That is not our business. That is not what we do. What we want to see is that you have policies and procedures in place that will enable you to secure everyone's safety. Not only on the site, which is what Hazard Board is all about. How do you inform people of risks on a site? How do you make sure that the guys on site are safe? But also off-site. New vehicle regulations came in on the 1st of September regarding vehicles, construction vehicles, the bits and pieces they should have on them and attached to them to make sure they're safe. So yeah, securing everyone's safety, and that means both on and off the site. And as I said earlier, lastly, but by no means least, is the workforce, the guys that do the job. Now, on a building site, we do sometimes find that welfare facilities are perhaps not as good as they might be. And when I say as they might be, I would challenge and say, what is the difference between working on a building site and working in an office? Should welfare facilities be any different? Not in my opinion, and not in the opinion of all of our monitors. The operatives on site are entitled to good, proper, suitable welfare facilities. You can see there the picture on the bottom right. Canteen, clean, tidy, why not? Top right, how do we look after the health of our operatives? That's important. The health of our operatives is vital. Do we do medical checks? Do we make sure that these guys are fit and healthy? There's an awful lot you can do in terms of this. We also want to get involved in mental health. We want to make sure that there's no harassment on site, there's no bullying on site. All these things will be featured on our checklist, and it is important, very important, that welfare is there for a purpose, and it is there for the welfare of the operatives. Respect, important, and the ability for them to carry out their job properly and in decent surroundings. Apprentices, companies that are able to help in terms of gaining more people into the industry, giving them a route into the industry in some way maybe, back to the schools if you like, being able therefore to go and talk to colleges, giving them the experience that you guys will have had within the construction industry. How do the guys sitting in the classroom today get to gain that experience? Only through people like yourselves being proactive and being able to go into the schools, into the colleges and help. Valuing the workforce, most important. Scheme monitors, just a little bit about us. We're all out of the industry. We all have considerable experience in the industry. You couldn't do the job if you had no experience of the construction industry. So we are from the industry and we work with the industry. Sometimes when we arrive for a monitoring visit, especially if it's for the contractor for the first time, there is a little sort of hesitation, there's a little reluctance. And basically, all we're doing is it's just two guys from the construction industry having a little bit of a chat. We're called monitors, and we're called monitors for a specific reason. We're not auditors, we're not inspectors, we are monitors. And it's just going to be a little chat between two guys on the site. And we're going to check that your site complies with the Code of Considerate Practice. That's the first thing we must do, and we do that through the checklist. And the questions that we will ask are there for all to see. And we will assess how your site is performing beyond the minimum requirements. I'll show you a little bit about scoring in a moment, and I'll just go further on that in a moment. We'll try and give advice and ideas that may help you improve your score. It's not just a tick box exercise. We are interested, very interested, in improving your site, improving your image, because as I said earlier, that improves the image of the whole construction industry. And of course, recognise and reward the site for good practice measures. There are times when unfortunately sites do fail to meet the compliance level. and we have to say to the site manager, I'm sorry, but your site is non-compliant in this matter. So on the other side of that particular coin, we will always say to site managers, that is great, you've done a really good job here. It's important that we do reward and thank the site for the measures it takes to try and comply with our code. And of course, as I've said earlier, if you are that good, if your practice really is excellent, then you'll be in line for one of our awards. Let me switch to the scoring process. That's our scoring chart, if you like. It goes from 1, which is a gross failure. That's not what you want to know about, I'm sure. And it goes right up to 10, which is innovation. Compliance with the code indicates performance beyond statutory requirements. That's the first thing to grab hold of. And 5 is compliance. So you need to achieve a score of 5 to have been compliant. And you'll note earlier that I mentioned there were 5 sections to the Code of Considerate Practice, and you need to achieve a compliance score in each of those sections. Once we start to go up, sites, companies and suppliers, all of the registrations will be assessed to identify any measures that are above compliance. And you can see that was good, there's very good, there's excellent. Those are the measures that you can grab hold of, that you can use to get your score going skywards, if you like, because once we get to 8, once we get to 9, that's very much down to you. 8 is our code, 9, the exceptional level is what you guys can then do. And don't forget, as I said earlier, it's not just a question of ticking boxes, it is a question of having everything to a very good standard. The exceptional comes in when companies decide that they're going to go one better and they're going to do the best that they can. Innovation, this is something that is totally different. And if you can come up with an idea that you think is innovative, then basically, if it's accepted, you will then be doing something that will enhance the industry. Our byline here is that it must be something, it must be innovation that if replicated on every site in the country, it would be improving the image of the construction industry. Obviously the scoring process is a lot more detailed, but that's the furthest that I really would like to take you at the moment due to time. National awards, I did mention these a little bit earlier. They're held annually across the United Kingdom. It is only the highest performing sites, companies and suppliers that will get them. And yes, it is to recognise those who have demonstrated exceptional levels. We have got 3 categories, gold, silver and bronze, and 1 gold award winner is named the UK's most considerate site, company or supplier. And from now, as we look to our company awards later this year and our site awards next year, we are splitting these into financial bands for the first time. So in actual fact, in site registration, there will be 5 most considerate sites split into financial bands. In conclusion, I want you to literally pay particular attention to our best practice hub. This was introduced this year, and as it says here, I can't say it any better than that, so I will just repeat it. It is a comprehensive online resource, showcasing best practice, hosting a wealth of best practice tips, expertise, guidance and case studies. Bottom line here, this is entirely for you. This has been brought into being to give you the expertise that you can gain from the hub. There's all sorts of information on there that will help you do what you need to do. Most importantly, meet and exceed the requirements of the code, perform to a higher standard and improve the image of the industry. And that is really the 3 key messages I would leave with you today, that the Considerate Constructor Scheme exists to do just that, to get you guys, whether you're a site, whether you're a company, whether you're a supplier, to meet and exceed the requirements of the code, so that you can perform to a higher standard and that hopefully altogether we can improve the image of the construction industry. Thank you so much. I do hope that was informative, and yet I will take any questions that you care to throw at me. I just hope I'll be able to answer them.
Thanks for that, Malcolm. That was great. Does anybody have any questions?